Welcome back to the Literature Science Alliance. My name's Ryan, and I'm doing another TBR video because it was requested by the roaring fans in the comment section. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying two things. One, I don't promise that this is going to get an end-of-year reaction video like I did last time, because right now I am working from home full-time, and I get most of my reading done in my commute. I take the train to work when I do go in, and I don't know if I'm going to be going back into the office anytime soon. So just, temper your expectations there. And also, this time around when I was picking books, I got a little less adventurous with which authors to grab, because last time I did this, I went out of my way to find new authors to read. This time, there's some repeats from the last TBR and from past videos. If you, for some reason, watch only my videos and remember, so there's that feeling of, oh, I like these authors, I'm gonna read more of their books. But there is some new stuff in here. So without further ado, let's get to it. First off, The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. Now, this one I didn't actually buy. This is Angela's book that she has been trying to get me to consume in some capacity for like a year, because she thinks I'm going to like it a lot. We had a road trip for the holidays and she had it ready in an audiobook, and I just played music the whole time. The thing with Neil Gaiman is that I haven't...
It's Gaiman.
Is it Gaiman?
I thought so.
Oh. Well, the thing with Neil Gaiman is that I'm saying his name wrong. The other thing about Neil Gaiman is that I've actually not read any of his solo stuff. I've only read Good Omens. And as some of you may know, I'm a white guy. And most people just kind of figure, when you're a white guy, it's like reading Neil Gaiman's like having a driver's license. Most people figure you've done it until you say otherwise. So this is a middle-aged man returns home to his hometown for a funeral. His childhood home is gone, but some pond at the end of the road that he grew up on is still there, where he met like this family that changed his life, and there's some dark themes and intrigue. So I'm going into this pretty blind. I like I said, this is not one that I went out of my way to look for, so I'm interested to see what lies ahead for me on this. The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This is a Pulitzer Prize winner, and it takes place in New England, which we should get like a siren. Do we have that in the effects budget? Is there something we can do? Can we like air horn it whenever Ryan talks about a New England book? Because like it's not going away. So The Secret History is about a group of 6 college students that are at a very posh liberal arts school in Vermont. It's told from the perspective of one of those students, like in the future, like looking back on his time at the college, and it's like a reverse murder mystery, because like we know who was killed and we know who survives, but we're trying to figure out the how and like reflect upon putting those pieces together. So that's a real fun hook for a book, and I'm looking forward to it. Hey, Lila. Cat woke up. All right. Here's a fun fact about Lila, is that she doesn't like being picked up. But when you put her down, she forgives you instantly. Anyway, moving on to the next book. Can you paint with all the shadows of the wind? Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. Zafón? There's an accent on the O, and I know how to speak French, but I don't think this guy's French.
That was the most French pronunciation of a Spanish name I have ever heard.
Well, stick with me and you'll hear worse. So this takes place in Barcelona, 1945. So it's recovering from World War II. A young boy who just lost his mother discovers a book called The Shadow of the Wind, and it becomes this tool for him to like grieve and basically have something to it's something for him to use as a tool to grieve and fall into and dedicate his time to as he gets through this very traumatic moment in his life. But he soon discovers that somebody is going around destroying every copy of this book, and he wants to find out why. So it's another book big on intrigue and mystery. That's something more sinister happening below the surface. So and I think this and The Secret History are both relatively well known. So those two kind of got me interested off clout a little bit. Nevertheless, all right. Survivor Song by Paul Tremblay. I did a review of Head Full of Ghosts a couple months ago. Loved that book. And I got a few recommendations for another Tremblay book. I'm going to do this one, and I might pick up Cabin at the End of the World later on. But this one takes place in New England. Massachusetts specifically. There's a plague. So it's a documentary. No, it's actually his take on a zombie story. And so the main character is a doctor trying to administer so they discover a cure for this zombie virus. And so the main character is a doctor trying to administer as many cures as she can before, the infection gets too bad and people turn into the undead. And her best friend is pregnant and going into labor while this is all happening. So I'm very interested in how Tremblay takes classic horror genres and puts his own unique spin on it. So I have two books by David Mitchell. None of this looks good. I'll do it this way. Two books by David Mitchell. Cloud Atlas and The Slade House. Now, I did not know about this book until I put up the TBR for Bone Clocks, and everybody said pick up Slade House if you like Bone Clocks. Then when I did the reaction video and talked about how much I loved Bone Clocks, everyone else was in the comment section was also saying pick up Slade House. So I picked up Slade House. All right? This is maybe the nicest way the internet has peer pressured somebody. So I don't actually know a whole lot about this book. I didn't look into it too much. I'm really just going on people's recommendations, so don't ruin this for me. As for Cloud Atlas, also didn't look up too much about it because I feel like with this author, what's the point? But it seems very structured the same way as Bone Clocks, where it's a group of stories that are all interconnected, but also do their own thing. Like, there's that setup, but in terms of like what actually happens, I don't know. I don't care. I'm gonna read it anyway because he has that much goodwill with me. Note change time, because I can't do this automatically. Harlem Shuffle by Colson Whitehead. So I read Nickel Boys a couple years ago, like right before the pandemic struck, and really was like kind of blown away by that book. I haven't read The Underground Railroad, which is the other one that he did that got a lot of acclaim. But I am very interested in Colson Whitehead's works. This one, I don't know if this is a historical fiction. It's set in Harlem in the 60s. And so this family man who's trying to walk a straight line in terms of legality is a furniture salesman, but comes from a family who don't live on the straight and narrow in the eye of the law. So he becomes entangled in this big hotel heist because he becomes indebted to some people. So it's kind of a classic setup of like a heist movie in New York, but it's just from the perspective of Colson Whitehead. So like I'm into it. Like I said at the beginning of this video, a lot of this TBR was just authors that I've already read and enjoyed, and I just want to read more by them. And so that's where I'm at with Mitchell, Tremblay, and Whitehead. I don't have any really good reasons from a plot perspective. I'm giving myself more of a blank slate expectation-wise this time around. Next up is an author I haven't read yet. Build Your House Around My Body by Violet. Her name's this way. Violet Coopersmith. It's a Vietnamese ghost story, but the plot kind of reminds me of The Grudge. I know that's Japanese, but let me just set the scene for you here. So, two young girls go missing 25 years apart around the same area in Vietnam, and so there's a link between these two disappearances, and they both become ghosts, and so it becomes a mystery to find out what happened to them, but also it's a revenge tale ghost story thing. So it does that genre blending that I'm so fond of. So I'm really interested in finding out how this unfolds. Spaceman of Bohemia by, I don't know what that accent is, Yaroslav Kalfar. One day I'm gonna be like, hey, let's sit down and learn all these authors' names, proper pronunciation. But it's not today. So this is a science fiction, if you couldn't guess by that. So a small boy in a Czech country grows up to become its country's first astronaut, and he takes on a dangerous solo mission to Venus and begins questioning his own sanity because he's out in space for so long, and he starts talking to a giant alien spider that he doesn't know if it's real or not. And so it's kind of like Chronicles in Space, Czech Republic style. It's up my alley. Mona by Paula Aloysiak. I tried. So this was written in 2019, translated to English in 2021. It is about a Peruvian writer living in California. She is living a jaded life out there. She is working for a university, but she has a bit of imposter syndrome because she feels like she's just a diversity hire there, and she is treating herself with self-medication methods for said imposter syndrome. Until one day, she gets notified that she has been nominated for a prestigious writing award in Europe. So she packs up her stuff and goes to this small village in Sweden where she has to reside with a bunch of other writers for the award ceremony. And it becomes a bit of a hijinks sort of story from there, with all these different strong writer personalities. So at its core, it's a satirical look at how writers view themselves. And as someone who has also been jaded and cynical in my career, I appreciate that. A Little Devil in America by Hanif Abdurraqib. So this is another essay collection of his about black performances in America. I'm going to stop holding the book so close to the camera now. And it basically talks about how black performances and, every facet of the word performance has affect American culture. just, maybe background vocals in a song or a stage performance or just giving a speech at a march. So it's just looking at the many facets of life that, Black people have had to perform to justify their existence. And I love Hanif Abdurraqib as an essay writer. I would read him I would read an essay of his about the ingredients in a cereal box. Like, he is just so good at these at having such a strong punch in these bite-sized stories. So, really looking forward to this one. We've come to the end of the TBR. And it took me so long to get this TBR together that I ended up reading this book already. So, here comes a very short review of No One Is Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood. Patricia Lockwood gained some prominence in the writing world for her memoir, Priest Daddy? Okay, Angela, you read Priest Daddy, so I wasn't sure if it was like a memoir or fictitious or somewhere in between.
Satirical memoir.
Okay, that sounds right. This is a fictional story. I'm not gonna say what it's about just because that's gonna give it away. But the first half of this story is written in small bits like you see here. And that is to imitate social media posts. So the entire first half of this book is all written as if it were an Instagram caption or a tweet or a Facebook comment. Basically, it's a look at how social media has altered our perception of communication and writing and just our day-to-day lives. So the main character in this book went viral for a tweet, and like as a result of that got to go to like social media conventions and stuff. And then a crazy life event happens to her sister, and then all of a sudden this portal that she refers to social media as a portal that was once just this little thing as a distraction and a way to make jokes and connect with people is now something that she's trying to use for her sister's well-being. And I commemorate this author for making a book that really feels like it couldn't have been written in any other time. And I don't think people who are prominent with social media and don't use it very often will like this book, because you really have to have used Facebook or Instagram or Twitter and understand how people interact on that platform to understand what this author's going for. So it's a really unique book, and I'll be curious to see how it is in 5 to 10 years, because it just feels like it captures this moment in time very, very well. But the second half of the book is a more straightforward story and very creative, but there is an entry barrier, which I just stated. But if you can appreciate that, it's a great read. Hey, cat. So that's it. That's the TBR for this year. I think I'm looking forward to... I might be looking forward to Secret History the most, just because it's... There's really just the prestige that it has, like the amount of acclaim it has behind it, which isn't always the best way to judge excitement for something, but I'm basic. So like, comment, subscribe. I might review some of these books. I might not. I don't know. Bye.